Hello, today I'm paying a visit to Hedgehog Rescue in South Gloucestershire, run by a good friend of mine, Yvonne Cox, and we're going to take a look inside the new Hedgehog Hospital to see some of the amazing work that Yvonne does for wild hedgehogs. So let's have a look inside and see what's going on.
Not too bad a weight, but still a little bit light for this time of year. Chances are it will have worms. Most of them do. At this time of year, the autumn juveniles especially seem to suffer. Right. So we've got plenty of poo in there, so we can do a poo test. And we'll just give him away to see how he's done overnight. So
this hedgehog's been brought in for what reason?
Found out in the day, and when weighed, it was actually 419, but the person kept it overnight and fed it, and it had put on quite a bit of weight, put on about 60 grams. So we put on only 2 grams last night.
Right.
So not a great deal of weight, but a lot of food eaten.
So this is a young hedgehog, I take it?
Yeah, this will be one of this year's.
Right.
Probably born, where are we now, November, probably born end of September, October time. And 481, so he's a sort of good 100 grams off of what we'd like for hibernation.
So he's 481 grams, and the hibernation target weight
600.
is 600 grams.
Yeah.
Right, so basically if a hedgehog's not weighing 600 grams when it's ready for hibernation in the wild, then it could be compromised.
Yeah.
It's not going to have enough fat reserves to make it through the winter.
Absolutely. So they get their fat by eating lots of insects, so it's a protein-based diet. That's what makes the brown fat. The brown fat is laid down behind the shoulder blades here, and this will feed them whilst they're sleeping, and it will sort of kickstart the metabolism again in the spring when they wake up.
Yeah.
So this is why we don't feed bread and milk, because although bread will make your hedgehog look nice and fat, it won't make him lay down brown fat.
Right.
So he'll be up to weight, you'll think he's fine, but he'll go into hibernation and he won't wake up in the spring.
Right.
Because that brown fat wouldn't have been formed.
Right.
And milk, the hedgehogs are lactose intolerant, so they can't drink cow's milk.
Yeah.
And also once they get diarrhea, if it's warm weather, then it can cause dehydration, it can cause gastroenteritis, and it can be fatal.
Yeah, yeah. So no milk, folks.
No milk, no, and no bread. Okay.
No bread.
It's not good for them at all.
So what should we be feeding them in the gardens?
So if you want to feed, a really good way to get hedgehogs into the garden is to feed the birds. Once you feed the birds, all the little bits get dropped, all the little bits of sunflower heart, peanut, the little bits of peanut, all those sort of suet pellets and dried mealworms people give, and the hedgehogs will come out in at night and they'll clear up all those bits that the hedgehogs have dropped, that the birds have dropped, sorry. So that's a really good way of encouraging hedgehogs in the first place.
So how about garden ponds? Hedgehogs can swim, can't they?
Hedgehogs are really good swimmers. They only drown because our ponds are steep and slippery.
Yeah.
So what you need is to make sure, just have a good look at your pond and think, if a hedgehog fell in, has it got a way out?
Yeah, yeah.
If you're concerned it hasn't, you can make a ramp.
Yeah.
So that's quite simple, just a simple ramp with some, maybe a bit of roofing felt on, just to stop it getting slippery.
And of course the other thing about hedgehogs in your garden is giving them access to get into your garden, is that right?
Absolutely, and that's a really good point that Hedgehog Street have been making, and it's about having this 13cm gap, either raise your gate a few inches, or making that hole underneath your fence, or even cutting a little bit of the fence panel away.
Yeah, because they visit quite a few gardens on a night time, don't they?
About 10.
Yeah, about 10 gardens, one hedgehog. Yeah.
So it's quite an area that they need. Right, now I think this one's got a little tick.
Right.
I think I just saw one on the side there somewhere. So there they are. There's 2 in there. Very hard to see.
There we go. I got them.
Now, generally they're sheep ticks. And what they do is the ticks lie around in grass, and then the hedgehog may go to sleep, the tick will climb on and attach itself, and it will drink the hedgehog's blood.
Yeah.
When it's full up, it will then drop off and it will wait for a new host.
Unpleasant things, ticks, aren't they?
They are really unpleasant, horrible things. But at least you know where they are, whereas with fleas and mites, they tend to crawl and jump and you lose sight of them.
Yeah.
So I always find them a little bit more itchy to deal with.
Is that,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
the weaker hedgehogs and the more sickly hedgehogs are going to be more susceptible to attack by parasites like ticks, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah. And then, of course, the immune system comes down because they become anemic.
Yes.
Because all their blood's being sucked, and it's just
Yeah.
a spiral. You know, it's a downward spiral. But other than that, looks okay. We've got a little boy here.
Little boy.
So it's a little boy.
So this has now become an X-rated movie.
So the little boy, this is...
Now that's exactly what most little boys would do if you went to do that.
yeah, so that little lump is where the boy's genitals are located, and if that was a girl, it would be right down by the tail.
Yeah.
Hedgehogs do have tails, small little things, a bit like a hamster's tail.
Yeah. And this microscope is a new acquisition, I understand.
It is. It's cost £180, and then if you count the cost of the solution and the slide, the slide itself was £35.
Yeah.
So it's probably cost about £220 to set this bit up.
But this is improving your standard of care, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you can identify you've got more information on the patients that you've got in the hospital,
Absolutely.
and then respond accordingly.
And by being able to do this ourselves, we're not waiting for labs to get back to us.
Yeah.
We can treat straight away, which is sort of really, really imperative. Human impact has taken away so much of their habitat. You know, we've lost 90% of our forests and woodlands since the Second World War. You know, we don't hedge between our gardens anymore. We all fence. You know, people have got decking and gravel, and so there's no astroturf. Why would anybody want to put astroturf down? I have no idea, but people do.
Very naive.
So there's no habitat there for the wild animals that are coming in. So you know, by supplementary feeding, you're replacing all the insects and stuff that probably aren't in your garden. Because of the changes that have been made.
But obviously the crucial sort of the thing really is to encourage, as Wild Owl encourages through Wild Owl TV, is to create wildlife gardens so there is natural environment for all these creatures and they can sustain themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ultimately that's the goal for long-term conservation, isn't it, of these creatures?
Yeah.
Because we can't supplementary feed everything, can we?
No.
Yeah.
But
it helps. It gives them a little bit of an edge.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you've got a mum hedgehog, you know, living under your shed, and she's got 4 little hoglets. You know, if you can put a dish of food out for her every night, she hasn't got to roam as far. The chances then she's not going to get run over by a car, and she'll return to her hoglets, and they'll thrive and survive as well.
Yeah.
You know, so it's helpful then. If we have a really dry season, it's helpful to feed hedgehogs because the mud gets so impacted, and the worms and things like that go so deep down to the soil, hedgehogs find themselves starving.
Yeah.
And although you may say, well, that's a natural thing to happen. Yes, it is, but what's all the other things that have happened are so unnatural that hedgehog numbers are now
we need
plummeting.
to start to put something into the equation, don't we?
We've got to put something into that
What are the
equation.
declines in the last decade or maybe the last 25 years of hedgehog?
Well, I say in about the 60s we had 30 million hedgehogs.
Yeah.
Then they did a study again in about the 80s and we were down to about 4, maybe 6 million. The study in about the 90s said 1.8, and the last study said somewhere between 750,000 and 1 million hedgehogs left. It's habitat loss. It's cars. You know, the amount of roads there are, and the amount of traffic, and how, you know, lorries are huge.
Use of insecticides in the garden, slug pellets.
Yeah, intensive farming. You know, farmers have ripped out the hedgerow to get the bigger machinery around. They spray all the crops because nobody wants to see a caterpillar on their cabbage.
Yeah.
So there's no food or habitat left in the sort of countryside.
And the hedgehog is an indicator species, as a lot of predators are, I'm sure, because if you don't have hedgehogs, it's because you've lost habitat and you've lost food, and that of course is telling you we might not be studying other species, but the indicator species, as owls are indications of voles and their environments, hedgehogs no doubt are indicator species for their food chain. They must surely be, because that's the way it works, isn't it? Yeah. And the decline in hedgehogs isn't just a decline in hedgehogs, it's a decline in a lot of other things.
Yeah.
And that's just dreadful.
We just have such an impact, you know. I mean, some of the biggest reasons hedgehogs come in are people's dogs, you know, dog attacks. Years ago, you only had a dog if you were somebody who hunted, or you had sheep and you had a sheepdog.
Yeah.
But now people have got 2-3 dogs.
Yeah.
They buy things like terriers, which
yeah, a
are
lot of
hunting
terriers.
dogs.
Yeah.
It's not the dog's fault.
No.
But people do need to be aware that that's what their dog is
Yeah.
going to do if there's a hedgehog in the garden, and they need to be responsible in that.
Yeah.
Another thing that's really bad are strimmers. Years ago people went around with little hand trimmers, and you mowed your lawn and you pushed your lawnmower along. Now they're petrol. They're
Everybody's
diesel.
got petrol lawnmowers, petrol strimmers, petrol chainsaws.
And the devastation of those instruments against a hedgehog.
Yeah.
Legs are cut off, faces are cut off, backs are cut off.
Yeah.
I've seen some horrible injuries.
Yeah. So the advice there, if you're going to clear your garden and you do happen to have that, if you have a petrol strimmer or a strong strimmer, what would you recommend that people do? Just check the area.
Yeah, check the undergrowth. If it's a hedge or something, check that underneath it. If it's long grass, go through the long grass first. Because often what hedgehogs would do is they pull the long grass down over the top of them, and it just becomes a mound with more grass growing up.
Right.
So it just looks like long grass.
Yeah.
And until you sort of go through it, and you don't know.
Yeah.
And things like brambles, people just get out the strimmer and through the brambles. It's the best place for a hedgehog to be.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful bit of environment for a hedgehog. So that's another thing. Netting is another big problem.
Garden netting.
Well, it's garden netting. Kids have football nets and tennis nets in the back garden these days. We never had anything. Trampoline nets. They're all out there. The amount of hedgehogs we get caught up in netting.
How many hedgehogs have you had in this year, Yvonne?
Nearly 200.
200.
Yeah.
And you were saying to me earlier that's pretty much a record, isn't it, for handling 200 hedgehogs in a year? And of course this autumn you're still getting them coming in.
Yeah, I'm going to be over the 200 mark by the end of the year, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm on about something like 197, 198 with yesterday's intake. So,
Yeah. Huge amount of work and a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, it is. And it's a huge cost as well.
Yes.
The hospital itself was a big cost, but we needed the better facilities. So we're glad we've got to that, but it's really run the funding to zero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so while I'm filming here, a lady's just come to collect some hedgehogs, so they're going to be released back into her garden. So we're just going to take a look at this, and this is the ultimate goal for Hedgehog Rescue, is to get these hedgehogs back into the wild. So let's have a look at what's going on here.
Yeah, we're just going to have another one because the ladies. Okay.
So these hedgehogs are going back over to Henley's, did we say?
To Henley's.
Henley's, yeah.
Yeah.
And what would they?
It would be 4.
4.
4 altogether then, won't it?
Yeah.
Really, that you've released, yeah. So we've got a male and a female going today.
Yeah. So they will be able to breed next year. Hedgehogs reach sexual maturity at 11 months, and then the gestation period is about 37 to 39 days. So they won't be able to breed until next year. So letting the male and female go over is fine. It's not like we're going to end up with late babies.
Right.
And hopefully they'll find each other and seek each other out next
I
year.
hope so.
for some noisy activity that will
Oh.
no doubt commence. Obviously released tonight, not during the day.
No.
All right, that's lovely. All right, thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Another happy customer?
Brilliant. That's what we want. That's what we're aiming for.
I mean, that's what it's all about, isn't it, basically, is turning them around, getting them back out into the wild. Because really the last thing I take you really want is to be having these hedgehogs with you throughout the winter, because it's just using up your capacity, isn't it, to respond.
Yeah, well, it's using up, financially, it's feeding them every day.
Yeah.
They don't need to be being fed by me.
Yeah.
And it is using up time and like say cages, which could have a sick one that is in more need.
Yes,
so
yeah.
Getting them out is the important bit.
Brilliant.
Now, and hopefully that will battle the worms and any infection that she may be having to deal with. You can see she's quite small. So hedgehogs this size out now desperately will need help, need to be brought in, even if they're coming out at night time. I would start saying that they need to be brought in.
Yeah.
Because it's, they're not going to survive. They're not going to be 600 grams by the time the cold weather comes. So if you have them and they can fit in your hand like that, they're too small.
Right. Anybody that maybe wants to, obviously we're going to come on to the appeal at the end of the video, but anybody that wants to give you practical help, what sort of practical help would you benefit from any volunteers?
Couriers, yeah.
Couriers,
absolutely. Even if it's, if I have to pick it up and take it to the vet because it needs to be put to sleep, it's a job I don't then have to do,
yes.
So I can delegate that job.
Yeah.
And if they can get it to me, that's great. I have to be a little bit careful with physical help here because of space and also public liability and things like that.
Yes.
And Cynthia's actually trying to get us a grant now, and some of that grant will be spent on public liability.
Yes.
So it will mean that we can open this up then to get in maybe students in
yes.
who can learn from the experience, who maybe want to become vet nurses or work in the sort of wild animal field.
Yeah.
So that would be really important if we can get that.
And that'd be a massive help to you personally to take off your massive workload, because I know we've been friends a long time, and I know how much of your life is dictated by the demands of these wild creatures. I mean, you don't have the sort of free time that most of us have, because of care work with wildlife is constant, isn't it? It's daily.
It's every day.
Every day, sometimes around the clock.
And literally, a month ago, I had 42 inmates, as we call them, and they were, that was taking me 6 to 7 hours, and that was just cleaning out, injecting, weighing.
Yeah.
This tea will be a good one.
Well, there's a break in there. Can I have a bag?
Oh, there's a bag here, sorry.
Look at that, yuck.
I just first of all like to thank you for letting me come in and watch your work today, because it really has been enlightening, and I think will give everybody that watches this video an idea of the value of your hedgehog rescue to these hedgehogs. But of course these animals are being cared by you, but there's a huge cost to that, isn't there, throughout the year? And I know you said you're getting up towards 50 hedgehogs in your care at the moment. How can people help you to keep this work going? Because you're not funded, are you?
No,
and you're not a registered charity.
No.
But you spend a lot of your time, I know from meeting you at shows in the past, fundraising just to keep the money rolling in to help these wild animals. So tell us what people can do to help.
Well, if you run for a teacher, or you run a brownie pack or something like that, or you run WI, men's probus, that sort of thing, you could always invite me in to be a speaker or do an educational talk. That's probably my most consistent way of fundraising. There's also an Amazon wish list on the website, so people, if they want to actually know what they've spent their money on, rather than just send £10 or something, there might be something on there that they wish to send, and they know that way it's being used.
Yeah, so somebody could actually buy from your wish list, say a heat mat or food or something like that they could then that will get sent to you
via Amazon.
Save you money. Yeah.
There's another link called Easy Fundraising, and basically that costs you nothing. But when you buy and order things online, a percentage of what you spent gets sent to Hedgehog Rescue. So it doesn't cost you any more to book that holiday or to buy your sofa or whatever it is that you've bought online. But that goes anything from about 1% to 2.5% comes my way. So that can be also another way of fundraising too.
Yeah.
Used to get very wriggly.
Yeah.
And obviously people can just donate through the PayPal button.
Yeah, on the website.
We also do, I'll just pop these two away. I'm just going to find somewhere to go. Hang on, you might have to go upside down there just for a second. I'm just going to show you another thing that you can do. Christmas is coming. And if you've got that person who's got got everything and you don't know what to buy them, we can also do an adoption package. So you can adopt a hedgehog from Hedgehog Rescue. The cost is £20. You receive the certificate, You receive a small beanie hedgehog, a key ring, what else you get? Key ring, a pen, and a couple of other bits and bobs. Anyway, that's also on the Hedgehog
So hedgehog
Rescue.
adoption.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that sort of is a present. And if you've got sort of friends who love hedgehogs
Yes.
and you don't know what to buy
Yeah.
them, then they know then that money goes directly to our work.
Yes, excellent. And of course, the website address is,
www.hedgehogrescue.co.uk.
and you've got a Facebook page as well, yeah?
Facebook page, which is Hedgehog Rescue. That's with a capital H and a little R.
Yeah.
And there's also Twitter, which is South Gloss Carer.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, once again, thank you very much for inviting me in here. I hope everybody, he slipped over there. I hope everybody enjoyed that. And just going to turn the camera around because this is my mate and it is really, really important work that she does. And I'll tell you what, I wouldn't want to do all the things that she does and because it takes up so much time. So I hope you'll share this video and share this amongst your friends, and let's see if we can raise some money for Hedgehog Rescue in South Gloucestershire, but in particular for beautiful hedgehogs like these, because without Hedgehog Rescue lots of these animals wouldn't be alive. So thank you, Yvonne.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you very much for your time today.
You're very welcome, and thank you, Cynthia.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work. Hopefully we'll have some more people in to help you as well.
Yes.
Bye for now then.